Good evening. Well, closing arguments continued in the Johannesburg High Court today in the case of AfriForum against the EFF over the singing of the song Dubulu Ibunu, which is translated as Shoot the Boer. AfriForums argued that the EFF leader Julius Malema should be treated in the same way as a white person who is racist. The EFF's legal representative says reports into farm murders indicate just 2% were racially motivated, with no data on the racial dynamics in each case. We're joined now by our reporter Malungelo Booi, who's been following proceedings. Malungelo, good afternoon to you. What argument in court today?
Well, Stephen, today we've heard, at least from at the beginning of the proceedings, we heard from Advocate Oppenheimer, who represents AfriForum, showing this court videos of EFF leaders singing that controversial song. And then he told the court that Malema singing the songs shows that he endorses violence. Let's take a listen.
Songs were chanted at mass rallies, which were then broadcast on television and then placed on the internet. The reach is immense. The EFF is the third largest political party in South Africa and enjoys considerable support at the voting stations. The controversial and incendiary nature of the conduct naturally gives rise to extensive coverage in mainstream media. It's almost impossible for ordinary South Africans to be unaware of the matter. With regard to the status of the speaker, Mr. Malema's testimony demonstrates that he endorses violence and that he expresses extreme hatred for white people. He's a powerful political figure, and this is more reason to hold him to account. With regards to the payment of the 500,000 rand, I submit that it's a reasonable amount given the gravity of the words uttered by the respondents and their unapologetic stance.
Well, Stephen, EFF lawyers told the court that there's no correlation between the singing of the song and farm murders in this country. Let's take a listen.
I then take him to the report itself. The report says, of the farm murders that were investigated, only 2% were racially motivated. 89% were motivated by robbery. Now that's very fundamental to understand, because what we've been told today is that, well, there's a disproportionate number of farm murders in contrast to the rest of the murders and robberies that happen in South Africa. But it is only 2% that the clearly identified motive was racially motivated. It gets more difficult for the complainant because of that 2% we are not told of the race dynamics. We're not told within that 2% it's black people killing white people or vice versa. What we're told is merely 2%. But even within that 2%, there's no evidence that the song played any influence in that 2%. For all intents and purposes, Your Lordship, there's just simply no evidence of the song leading to farm attacks. I then put it to
Malungelo, I mean, this issue has been within our society for easily the last 10 years, even longer than that. You could argue the last 20. And we're still a long way from finality on it.
That's right, Stephen. In fact, judgment has been reserved. But I think what has been interesting here are some of the arguments that have been made by the AfriForum lawyer, in fact, even making reference to the John Gwelane case. I think if you remember it well, it's that hate speech case where John Gwelane wrote about homosexuality. And that matter, in fact, went to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court found that that article, in fact, promulgated hatred, and the AfriForum, in fact, also drawing a link with this particular case as well as that of John Gwelane.
Malungelo Booi, thank you very much indeed. Do appreciate it. There's a lot more law to come in these cases.